Callie walked through the corridors of the prestigious car event in Las Vegas, dazzled by the variety of vehicles shining under the intense lights. While admiring an elegant convertible, her attention was captured by a confident voice. "Beautiful, isn't it?" said Roger, approaching with a captivating smile. He was a luxury car salesman known for his ability to match clients with the perfect car. They began to discuss the different models on display. Roger shared stories about his career, speaking passionately about every detail of the vehicles and the sales he had made. Callie was not only fascinated by the cars, but also by the way Roger spoke about his work with so much enthusiasm and knowledge. "You seem to love what you do," Callie commented, impressed. "I really do," replied Roger, his eyes shining. "Each car has its own story, its own charm, and I'm fortunate to be a part of it." The conversation flowed naturally, and Callie found herself increasingly drawn to Roger's charm and success. He invited her to dinner, and the date revealed even more compatibility between them. Over time, Roger made a proposal that would change Callie's life. "Come live with me in my house. You won't have to worry about anything. I can take care of you." The offer, coming from someone she had come to deeply admire, seemed like a fairy tale. Roger's house was a reflection of his success, an imposing property with a breathtaking view, elegant decor, and all the comfort she could wish for. Enchanted by this new phase in her life, Callie accepted the invitation. In her new home, she began to live a lifestyle she wasn't accustomed to, surrounded by luxury and without the need to work. Roger insisted that he could comfortably support her, allowing her to pursue hobbies and personal interests. However, as she adapted to this new reality, Callie couldn't help but wonder about what the future held for them. The initial passion that had brought them together around luxury cars was now giving way to a shared life filled with possibilities, but also uncertainties. After years of a marriage that had begun as a fairy tale, Callie and Roger found themselves in a whirlwind of frustration and hopelessness. The dream of building a family together was slipping away in the painful reality of their inability to have children. Visits to doctors, endless treatments, and renewed hopes each month had become an exhausting cycle. The pressure began to erode the foundation of their relationship. Roger, who had always been a man of control and confidence, began to show a different side. "I don't understand, Callie. Everyone around us is starting families. Why can't we?" he expressed in moments of frustration. Callie, feeling guilty and powerless, tried to calm him. "Love, some things are beyond our control. We need to be strong together," she replied, holding back tears. But Roger's patience and understanding were running thin. Arguments became more frequent, and the atmosphere in the house, once filled with love and hope, was now marked by tension and painful silences. On Callie's birthday, she hoped for a moment of respite, a break in the storm that had become their marriage. However, Roger came home with a somber expression, carrying news that would shatter what was left of her world. "Callie, I can't keep pretending that everything is okay," Roger began, avoiding direct eye contact. "I've met someone, Paige. She's pregnant." Roger's words hit Callie like a blow. She felt the ground open up beneath her. "How could you, on my birthday?" she murmured, incredulous. "I need to move on, Callie. I need a family, children, and you can't give me that," Roger said with a coldness Callie had never seen. Shocked and devastated, Callie could hardly speak. "So what are you saying? What's going to happen to us?" "There's no more us, Callie. I want you to leave the house. I'll be with Paige. She's giving me what I've always wanted," Roger declared without a shred of empathy. Heartbroken and directionless, Callie gathered her belongings, tears blurring her vision. She left the house that had once represented a home full of love and hope, now only a cruel reminder of a shattered dream. Loneliness and sadness enveloped her as she walked aimlessly, her broken heart echoing the pain of an unimaginable betrayal. "And you, in Callie's place, what would you do? Would you try to stay with Roger? Would you only accept the breakup? Would you try to move on? Leave your thoughts in the comments." Callie wandered through the streets of New York, a shadow of her former self, confidence replaced by a feeling of being lonely and abandoned. The skyscrapers that once symbolized ambition and success now seemed to rise like indifferent giants to her smallness and despair. Lost in her tumultuous thoughts, she barely noticed Arthur's approach. Arthur, a man with an elegant demeanor and a compassionate gaze, spotted Callie sitting on a park bench, clearly shaken. He approached cautiously, offering a tissue and a kind smile. "You seem like you could use a friend right now," he said gently. Callie, surprised by the approach of a stranger, hesitated initially. "Thank you, but I don't want to bother you," she replied, trying to hide her distress. "We all need help sometimes," Arthur insisted. "My name is Arthur. Why don't you tell me what happened? Maybe I can help." Intrigued by the sincerity in his eyes, Callie began to open up. She talked about her broken marriage, Roger's betrayal, and how she felt lost and directionless. Arthur listened attentively, his expression reflecting a mixture of empathy and concern. "I understand your pain," Arthur said after a moment of reflection. "Life sometimes throws us onto paths we never expected to tread." As she shared her story, Callie discovered that Arthur was more than just an attentive listener. He was the CEO of a large company known for his compassionate and innovative leadership. Despite his position and wealth, Arthur conveyed a rare humility and understanding. Observing Callie share her story with a blend of vulnerability and strength, Arthur felt a deep connection. He saw in her not just a woman broken by fate, but a resilient soul ready to rise again. "Callie, your strength and courage are inspiring. I believe you have a lot to offer," he said with a warm and determined voice. "I'd like to offer you a job as a secretary in my company. It's an opportunity for a fresh start." Callie, still processing the turn her life had taken, looked at Arthur. Her eyes reflected a mix of surprise and gratitude. "Arthur, this means so much to me. I don't know what to say." "Thank you," she replied, her voice choked with emotion. In the days that followed, Callie started working at Arthur's company. At first, she felt like a fish out of water, insecure in a corporate environment after years away from the workforce. But Arthur was always there, offering guidance and support. "You're doing great, Callie. You just need to believe in yourself," he encouraged her. As they worked together, a genuine friendship began to blossom. They shared lunches, conversations about life, and even laughter. Callie found in Arthur a friend and mentor, someone who understood and respected her. On a quiet afternoon in the office while reviewing some documents, Callie asked Arthur, "You've always been so human. How do you manage to maintain this kindness, even as the CEO of a large company?" Arthur smiled, looking out the window. "I've had my share of hardships too, Callie. I've been abandoned by people I loved. I think that taught me to value true relationships and the importance of giving people chances." Listening to Arthur's words, Callie felt an even deeper connection with him. They were two souls who had been wounded but had found strength in their scars. "I guess we have more in common than I imagined," she remarked, a shy smile on her lips. Over time, the mutual respect and admiration between Callie and Arthur evolved into a solid friendship. They supported and inspired each other, showing that even after life storms, it was possible to find warmth and light in each other's hearts. As the days went by, Callie, working alongside Arthur, began to notice the unique synergy between them. The way Arthur listened attentively, his unwavering kindness, and how he valued her opinions and ideas were refreshing novelties in her life. With each thoughtful gesture and meaningful conversation, Callie felt a deeper connection forming. On a fall afternoon, while watching the golden sunset from the office terrace, Callie remarked, "Arthur, I've never met anyone like you. Your kindness and understanding, they mean so much to me." Arthur, gazing at the horizon, replied sincerely, "Callie, since you entered my life, everything seems brighter. You've brought a new perspective and joy that I didn't know was missing." These exchanges of feelings opened the doors for Callie to explore emotions she had suppressed. She often found herself thinking about Arthur, not just as a friend or employer, but as someone with whom she could share her life. However, the differences in their backgrounds and social standings made her hesitate. Arthur, I'm just a secretary. You're the CEO. Our worlds are so different, she confessed in a moment of vulnerability. Callie, you are so much more than your position or your past. You are an incredibly strong and smart woman. What we feel for each other transcends any social barrier, Arthur reassured her with conviction that touched her heart. Encouraged by his words, Callie began to allow herself to feel more. On cold nights when they worked late, they shared laughter and stories, learning more about each other's dreams and desires. In casual lunches, conversations flowed naturally, and exchanged glances spoke volumes. On a special occasion while dining together at a cozy restaurant, Arthur held Callie's hand and said, I don't just want to be your friend or your boss, Callie. I want to be by your side as your partner, if you'll allow me. Callie, with tears of happiness glistening in her eyes, responded with emotion, Arthur, I feel the same way. I want to explore this with you. This decision marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. They allowed themselves to explore the emerging love between them, building a relationship based on understanding, respect, and a profound sense of connection. Callie, embracing the possibility of this new love, allowed herself to be vulnerable again, finding in Arthur not only a lover but a true companion. As the relationship between Callie and Arthur blossomed, it became evident that what they shared was something extraordinary. They discovered in each other's company a depth of love and understanding that neither had ever experienced before. Moonlit walks, intimate dinners, and long conversations increasingly revealed their incredible compatibility and mutual love. On a starry night, while sitting in Arthur's garden, he took Callie's hands, and with a look full of love and hope, said, See, since you came into my life, every day has been a blessing. I can't imagine spending the rest of my days without you by my side. Would you accept to be my wife? See, with tears of happiness shining in her eyes, responded excitedly, Arthur, you've given me a reason to believe in love again. Yes, I will marry you. There's nothing I want more. They got married in an intimate ceremony surrounded by close friends and family. The happiness radiating from them was palpable, and everyone present was touched by their genuine love. After the wedding, C decided to undergo a medical examination, still carrying the shadow of infertility from her previous marriage. To her surprise and immense joy, the doctors confirmed that she could conceive. She rushed to share the news with Arthur. Arthur, with tears in his eyes and a smile that lit up his entire face, hugged her tightly. C, this is the best news I could ever receive. Let's embark on the most incredible adventure of our lives. Not long after, they received the news that C was pregnant with twins, a boy and a girl. The pregnancy was accompanied by excitement that filled each day with anticipation and joy. When the time finally came, and the twins were born, C and Arthur looked at their children with a mixture of admiration and indescribable love. They are perfect, C whispered, holding the tiny hands of their babies. Yes, they are. We are blessed, Arthur replied gently, kissing each baby's forehead. The arrival of the twins brought a new dimension to C and Arthur's love. They not only shared a deep love for each other, but now had the joy of raising two wonderful beings together. The house that once echoed with the sounds of two passionate hearts was now filled with laughter and baby cries, symbolizing a new chapter in their lives filled with love and happiness. Years had passed since C left behind the life of disillusionment with Roger. Now, with a loving family and a life filled with joy alongside Arthur and their children, she could barely recognize the woman who had once been shattered by Roger. On a sunny afternoon, as she walked through the bustling city streets, an unexpected encounter transported her back to her past. Turning the corner, she saw a familiar and worn figure sitting on the sidewalk, holding a begging cup. It was Roger, his face once full of confidence and charm now bearing the marks of defeat and regret. C, taken by surprise, stopped in her tracks, her heart pounding. Roger, raising his gaze and recognizing C, felt a mixture of shame and desperation. C, it's you, he stammered, trying to get up. C, with a mix of shock and compassion, approached hesitantly. "Roger, what happened to you?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. Roger, with his eyes downcast, replied, "See, I've lost everything. Paige deceived me, took everything I had. I'm living on the streets now." There was a sincerity in his voice that C couldn't ignore. She saw before her a broken man, so different from the confident luxury car salesman she had once known. The unexpected encounter with Roger on the street stirred up a whirlwind of emotions in C that she thought she had left behind. There before her was the man who had once meant the world, now a desolate reflection of his former self. Roger, with pleading eyes, seemed to seek a glimmer of hope in C. "C, please. I know I messed up. I'd give anything to go back in time and make things right," Roger pleaded, his voice trembling with emotion. C, maintaining a firm stance, looked at him with a mixture of pity and resolve. "Roger, what you did broke something in me, but it also opened my eyes," she began, her voice gentle but resolute. "I suffered a lot because of you, but it made me stronger. I learned to value myself, not to depend on someone else's validation." Roger, with a look of remorse, mumbled, "I never wanted to hurt you, C. I was confused, lost. I didn't realize what I had until I lost it." C sighed deeply, feeling the need to express all the pain and growth she had experienced. "Roger, when you left me, I was shattered, but that pain led me to a better path. I found someone who truly loves me, who respects who I am. Arthur showed me what real love is, a love that isn't selfish, a love that supports and values." Seeing the determination in Callie's eyes, Roger realized the depth of the change in her. "I see that you've changed, C. You seem stronger, happier. I just wish I could be a part of that," he said, his voice heavy with sadness and regret. "Roger, you will always have a place in my history, but that's all it is, a part of my past. My heart belongs to someone else now, and I don't want to change that," C explained, her voice soft but decisive. She took a step back, preparing to walk away. "I hope you find peace, Roger, that you learn from your mistakes and find a new path. Everyone deserves a second chance." With these words, C turned and walked back into her life, leaving behind the past and embracing the present filled with love and happiness she had built with Arthur. It was a definitive farewell to the chapter of her life that Roger represented, a chapter that was now closed, allowing new pages to be written. After her conversation with C, Roger was left alone on the streets, her words echoing in his mind. He looked at the few coins in his begging cup and at the indifferent passers-by. His life, once filled with luxury and confidence, had crumbled, leaving him with nothing but regrets and a harsh reality to face. "I did this to myself," Roger muttered to himself, his voice choked with emotion. "I lost the one person who truly loved me because of my greed and selfishness." Meanwhile, C, with a heavy but also relieved heart, walked back to her home where a new life of love and understanding awaited her. Upon arriving, she found Arthur playing with the twins in the living room. Seeing her, Arthur immediately sensed that something significant had happened. "C, what happened? Are you okay?" Arthur asked quickly, rising to meet her. C smiled, despite the evident emotion on her face. "I ran into Roger today," she began, hesitating. "He's very different. His life has taken a tragic turn." Arthur, listening attentively, gently held Callie's hand. "And how do you feel about it?" he asked softly. C looked at Arthur, her eyes filled with gratitude and love. "I feel sorry for him, but I also feel like I finally closed that chapter of my life. Being with you and our children has shown me what true happiness is. What happened today only reinforced how grateful I am for the life we have together." Arthur embraced C, kissing her on the forehead. "I'm so proud of you, C, proud of the strong woman you are and how you've overcome your past. Our family, our love, is what matters now." The twins, sensing the moment of tenderness, ran to hug C's legs, filling the moment with innocent and joyful laughter. In that moment, C realized how far she had come. The past with its pains and regrets had been a tough journey, but it had led her to a present filled with love and happiness with Arthur and their children by her side. She knew that any painful memories from the past were just that, memories. Her reality now was a life filled with love, support, and a bright future ahead. C's story reached its epilogue under a twilight sky painted with the vibrant colors of dusk. Sitting on the garden swing, with the twins playing joyfully around her, C reflected on the journey she had traveled beside her Arthur. Ever present, shared in the serenity of the moment, she began, "You know, Arthur." C's voice was soft and reflective. "Today, as I look back on everything I've been through, I realized something important. Every choice I made, every challenge I faced, brought me to this point." Arthur, listening attentively, responded, "And this is a beautiful place, C. You've turned your struggles into strength, your pain into compassion." C smiled, looking at her children. "I've learned that facing the past is not just about accepting what happened, but also understanding how those experiences shape who we are. And most importantly, that despite the pain and losses, there's always room for fresh starts, for true love." Arthur, taking Callie's hand, added, "You've shown incredible courage in moving forward and opening your heart again after everything that happened." C, gazing at the horizon, continued, "I used to think that happiness was something to be found or given to us. But now I see it's something we build day by day, with the choices we make, with the people we choose to love, and with how we decide to face our challenges." "That's true," agreed Arthur. "And looking at our family, at our life together, I couldn't be more grateful for the choices we've made." As the sun set, C contemplated the twists and turns of life. She had learned that true strength lies not in never falling but in having the courage to rise, to look at the past with acceptance and the future with hope. Callie's story was not just one of overcoming and love, but also of the beauty of new beginnings and the resilience of the human spirit. With Arthur by her side and her children growing up in a home filled with love, C knew that the choices she had made, as challenging as they were, had led her to a life of true happiness and fulfillment. Thank you for joining us today on Deep Stories. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video.